Our top story. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Qatar. He arrived in Doha on Wednesday and he has met with the Qatari Emir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Just a while ago, Prime Minister Modi held talks with the Qatari Emir. The two discussed regional and global issues, as well as matters of mutual interest. This is Prime Minister Modi's second Qatar visit since 2016. The visit is also aimed at bettering and strengthening overall ties between New Delhi and Doha. Now, the Indian Prime Minister arrived in Qatar on Wednesday. He was received by Qatar's Foreign Affairs Minister Sultan bin Saad Al Muraiki. Earlier in the day, PM Modi held talks with his Qatari counterpart, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani. The two leaders discussed bilateral cooperation in sectors including investment, energy and finance. Meanwhile, the Indian Prime Minister will conclude his two-nation visit later in the evening, after which he will return to New Delhi. Prime Minister Modi was earlier in UAE, where he inaugurated Abu Dhabi's first Hindu temple, the BAPS. He also attended the government summit. Following marathon negotiations between the PMLN and the PPP political parties, Pakistan's race to power, marred by widespread violence and allegations of foul play, finally seems to be reaching its conclusion. Now, in the latest development, Pakistan People's Party's leader, Asif Ali Zardari, is reportedly poised to become the country's president for a second term. The news comes following the PMLN and the PPP when they reached an agreement to form the country's new government. Other parties in the newly announced six-party alliance include the MQMP, the PMLQ, the IPP and the BAP. Before the announcement, 35-year-old PPP chief Bilawal Bhutto Zardari had said that his party would support the PMLN to elect its Prime Minister, though no formal announcement has been made yet. Shehbaz Sharif reportedly remains the favourite for this post. However, responding to a question regarding the post of the President at a press conference on Wednesday evening, in fact, Bhutto said he wants his father Asif Ali Zardari to become President because, and I'm quoting here, the country is burning and if anyone can help put the fire out, it is Asif Ali Zardari. Listen to this.
जहाँ तक मुस्लिम लीग नून की या किसी भी जमात की वज़ीर आज़म की उम्मीदवार हैं, वो उन जमातों का फ़ैसला है कि वो कौन अपने उम्मीदवार बनाएंगे। जहाँ तक पाकिस्तान पीपल्स पार्टी का इन इलेक्शंस में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल ओहदे पे कि कौन हमारे उम्मीदवार होंगे, वो तो पार्टी का फ़ैसला होगा। मेरा ख्वाहिश ये ज़रूर होगा कि सदर ज़रदारी जब प्रेसिडेंसी का इलेक्शन आए तो उस इलेक्शन में हिस्सा ले और इस मुल्क का सदर बने।
Pakistan media outlets are also reporting that the leadership of the PMLN has agreed to support Zardari for the post of president in return for PPP's support to Shehbaz for the Prime Minister's post. Now, if there are no more twists, the country will see the PMLN's Prime Minister and the PPP's president. Meanwhile, Imran Khan-backed PTI has slammed Bilawal Bhutto Zardari for quote-unquote keeping his family and hereditary politics alive through bare corruption and power sharing. It also maintains that it is going to form Pakistan's next government. Well, last month, a Russian Il-76 aircraft travelling from an air base near Moscow to the border city of Belgorod was struck by missiles, killing all on board. Now, the Russian authorities claimed 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war were on board. Putin said the US made a Patriot missile was used to shoot down the strategic airlifter. Now Moscow says it can provide evidence of Washington's involvement. Now here's all you need to know about this. A Russian diplomat told the plenary session of the OSCE Forum for Security Cooperation that Moscow is ready to provide evidence proving Washington's involvement. The head of Russia's delegation to the Vienna talks on military security and arms control hit out at the United States and the Ukraine. Konstantin Gavrilov said Washington is deliberately supplying weapons to kill Russians, while the Kyiv government does not spare even its own captured soldiers. But let's now take a look at the IL-76 aircraft, a multifunctional aircraft. Well, the IL-76 can perform intercontinental transportation of cargoes, military equipment and servicemen. It can be operated from unpaved airfields and employed in various geographic conditions, day and night. The Russian strategic airlifter can hit speeds of 800 kilometers per hour. The aircraft has a maximum takeoff weight of 210 tons, while the maximum payload weight is 60 tons. Now with 60-ton payload, the IL-76 has a flight range of 4,000 kilometers. It has a service ceiling of around 12 kilometers. A key factor, the single-deck versions of the IL-76 can transport 145 troops and the double-deck versions can transport 225 troops. Now, days ago, a US drone strike blew up a car in Baghdad, killing a high-ranking commander of the Qatar Hezbollah militia. The US military said the strike killed Abu Bakr al-Sadi, the commander of Qatar Hezbollah's operations in Syria. Washington claimed he was responsible for directly planning and participating in attacks on US troops. Now here's how the US killed the militant with a secret missile that aims to kill only terrorists and not nearby civilians. Experts and others familiar with counter-terrorism operations said the highly secretive Hellfire R9X is indicated in the attack. The missile is known by various nicknames including the knife bomb or the flying Jinzu. Officials believe the R9X is less likely to cause civilian casualties because instead of exploding, it cuts through targets with sharp blades. Unlike other models of the Hellfire, the R9X doesn't carry an explosive payload. Instead, it has 6 rotating blades that emerge on its final approach to a target. One of the utilities is in opening up vehicles and other obstructions to get to the target without using an explosive warhead. So how does the missile reach its target? The missiles are launched from Hellfire armed drones. Following the launch, the blades are retracted during flight. The R9X missile then uses its kinetic force and blades to eliminate the target. In 2022, R9X missiles killed Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri while he stood on a balcony at his home in downtown Kabul. The United States is reviewing reports Israel harmed civilians under guidelines aimed at ensuring nations getting U.S. arms conduct operations in line with international humanitarian law. The Biden administration has faced criticism for continuing to supply arms to Israel. Allegations are piling up that American-made weapons have been used in strikes that have killed or injured civilians. The U.S. State Department's Civilian Harm Incident Response Guidance is assessing incidents in the current conflict. The Civilian Harm Incident Response Guidance was established in August last year, just weeks before Hamas's unprecedented October 7th raid into southern Israel, by which the State Department officials investigate specific incidents where civilians may have been harmed by U.S. weapons.
We can't comment on the specifics of ongoing reviews, but as we have said before, we are reviewing incidents in the current conflict according to the process set out in the CHURG. That process is not intended to function as a rapid response mechanism. Rather, it is designed to systematically assess civilian harm incidents and develop appropriate policy responses to reduce the risk of such incidents occurring in the future, and to drive partners to conduct military operations in accordance with international humanitarian law.
To date, Washington has not said whether such incidents could trigger restrictions on U.S. assistance or any other action if Israel were to be found at fault. President Joe Biden recently issued a national security memorandum. It requires countries receiving U.S. security assistance to provide assurances that they will comply with international law and not restrict aid access in conflicts. As per the Wall Street Journal, one attack the State Department is currently investigating is an October 31st airstrike on the Jabalia refugee camp near Gaza City. The strike on the densely populated camp killed more than 125 people, and Israel said it targeted a Hamas commander in a tunnel under a high-rise building. Weapons investigators suspect that Israel used a 2,000-pound bomb in the strike, which could have been provided by Washington. The United Nations Human Rights Office said the strike killed a large number of civilians and could be a war crime. Israelis declined to comment on the weapon used, but said they had tried to minimize civilian casualties by using a delayed fuse that allowed it to detonate underground. Now, as well as the attack on Jabalia, the alleged use of white phosphorus by Israel during an attack on sites in Lebanon in October is also under scrutiny. The use of white phosphorus, which is highly flammable, is banned in some circumstances and can constitute a war crime if it is used to target civilians. The Israelis say that they do not use white phosphorus illegally. Meanwhile, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved the first ever treatment to treat severe frostbite in adults. The medicine will considerably reduce the risk of amputation. Well, sold under the brand name Orlumin, it is expected to be available in the spring of 2024. Now, we bring you the details in the next story. Frostbite is when your skin and tissue freeze because of extreme cold. It can happen in different stages. Sometimes it's mild and doesn't need medical help, but in severe cases, it might even need amputation. A controlled trial indicated that iloprost, a vasodilator, helps treat severe frostbite. Scientists gave iloprost to some patients with severe frostbite. Others got different medicines for frostbite. After a week, they checked if anyone needed to have a finger or a toe removed. On day 7, it was found that none of the patients receiving iloprost alone needed amputation, compared to the patients who were on medications unapproved for frostbite. Although its pricing has not been determined yet, the company said in an email statement that the FDA has approved iloprost as the first treatment for severe frostbite. This is good news because now doctors have a better way to help people with frostbite, one that leaves their fingers and toes. Iloprost, however, can have side effects like headaches, dizziness, fast heart rate, nausea, dizziness, and hypertension. A full-grown tiger that was stuck in a plantation in Kannur district of the southern state of Kerala. On Tuesday morning, plantation workers saw a tiger trapped in a roadside fence and alerted forest officials. Concerns arose that the tiger's neck might be ensnared in the barbed wire, necessitating careful handling. Forest officials tranquilized the tiger. Afterwards, the tiger was captured and transported to the nearest forest to examine his health. In recent years, at least 4 districts across Kerala have witnessed an increase in cases of man-animal conflict. According to reports, deterioration in quality of forest habitats, unavailability of water in forests, increased human activity in forest fringes are among the factors that draw wild animals towards human settlements and give rise to potential conflicts. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.